My name is Sam Grimmett. I'm the Arborist here at Scissortail Park Foundation. I've been here since the grand opening event when the park was first handed over to us from the contractors that built it. My main focus here at the park is working with the trees as the arborist. We have 928 trees that were part of the initial installation. We've added approximately another 40 since then, leaving us with about 970 trees. The last year has been really quite interesting from the point of view of having 928 brand new babies. It's interesting with that number, every time that I do something to one tree, I need to do it 928 more times. So whether I'm just giving them a light prune, whether I'm watering something, whether I'm cutting tree strapping off or adding some fertilizer or even just regular compost, it has to happen that many times in order for me to complete that particular task. With a newly planted tree, really the most important thing is that as it goes into the ground, that you get the root collar at the right height. It's something that I have found to be quite an issue with trees coming out of the nurseries. It's really difficult to trust the nurseryman knows what he's doing from the point of view of the soil height. So I would like for your watchers to dig down close to the trunk and find where the root flare actually goes from vertical and tapers out into the horizontal. Where that is, I would like to have that put about 2 inches above general grade. Plant it high so it doesn't die is a really good catchphrase. The reason that it's planted high like that is that a lot of problems with trees come from root decay and armillaria, root rot, and things, just endless problems, plus the fact that it makes it really easy to add soil amendment to the ground around the tree without burying the trunk in the compost and wood chips, mulch and things like that. So I can't overemphasize the value of mulch around a new tree, especially somewhere in the kind of 4 to 6 foot range. Yeah, 4 to 6 foot wide. It stops the competition from other plant species and also keeps the ground temperature fairly level. Stops the soil from drying out and from have quite a few bug issues also. Around the trunk of the tree, I'd like for people to leave about a 6-inch gap between the trunk of the tree and the start of the mulch, and from there about, say, another 4 foot of mulch. We don't want for the root system to turn on itself. And so by leaving the area close to the trunk of the tree dry, it's definitely it's definitely important. Watering is always a really big issue with newly planted trees. It's really important that we don't let them dry out, but then again, don't keep them wet all the time. It seems like somewhere in between every day and every third day is around about right for a newly planted tree, and probably once a week through the winter. So after a year in the ground, the trees are around about ready to be tested to see if they've established. What I mean by that is this tree capable of holding itself up? Normally the way to do that is just to grab a hold of the trunk and give it a really good shake, like so. Although the tree wiggles, the tree doesn't actually move against the ground. And so at that point in time, you can cut the stakes free of the tree and it's ready for its first haircut. I would recommend thinning out close to the trunk and also removing any codominant leaders. What I mean by that is when the two of them get started at the top together, if you fold one down, then you wind up with a main leader, which is going to be really helpful in future from the point of view of raising that tree up and getting it to have its big boy haircut. Establishment is always an interesting thought. The general rule is that it takes a tree a year for every inch of trunk at the base. So if you have a 4-inch tree at the base, you could expect that tree to take 4 years to establish itself to the extent that, or at least to have the root system that at one point in time it had before we dug it out and transplanted it. One of our tasks for the end of this year is to try and become an accredited arboretum. We currently have 70 different tree species and we're looking to find 100 different tree species before we apply for accreditation. Accreditation in the grand scheme of things means that we know what we're doing, that we've gone through all of the steps in the paperwork and otherwise, that each tree is labeled, it's been counted and it's been catalogued, The majority of them will have customer viewing labeling on them, but every tree will have its own individual label. It'll be tagged, and then it'll be inspected yearly from the point of view of the Arboretum. One thing that was interesting recently is that we had a gift of trees from the National Arboretum. They sent us a good selection of endangered trees, or basically trees that just weren't succeeding very well in their native environments, to try and keep the biodiversity available, asking us to plant them here at the park. And I'm sure that one day somebody's going to come along and pick up a few acorns and they'll go off to the next park.
We hope you enjoyed this video. It's part of our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. You can also find even more videos on our OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.